Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Deaths from Above 40k. Today we've got a 1500 point battle report. Here with my mate Jake. I'm going to be heading off the Blood Angels, and he's going to be heading off, as per request, the Black Legion, led by Baden. So, first things first, we'll go through the Blood Angel list and what's in it. If you want more in-depth Tactica on this list, I've done a Tactica video on this specific list. He's asked to see this in battle after I've done the Tactica video, so I've answered your prayers, or whatever you want to call them, requests, and here we are. Alright, so 4 HQs in this list. We've got Primaris Mephiston, Sangru Priest, and then over here we've got the Sanguinor. The Primaris Mephiston will have the powers Wings of Sanguinius and Unleash Rage. Oh no, sorry, the Quickening, not Unleash Rage. Then on the Priest, he'll be the Warlord, so he'll have Artisan of War, making his Chainsword 2 damage, and he'll also have Artificer Armor. Then over here, we've got the Sanguinor. You love him, he does what he does. He just pretty much beats stick in combat, gives other things +1 attack and all that sort of stuff. He should be pretty brutal in the combat phase. So they're the 3 HQs. For troops, we've got 1, 2, 3 Intercessor Primaris units. They all have auto bolt rifles and power fists on the Sergeant. As far as I'm concerned, for Blood Angels, that's the only way to run them. Then for elites, so up front, I've paid a command point to get the 2nd relic, because this guy's got Artificer Armor. Then the Banner of Sacrifice, so Feel No Pain banner, and being the sanguinary version, he lets us reroll 1s to wound in combat, so sort of like a sort of secondary sergeant in close combat, and he's got the Incarmine Sword. Then we got Sanguinary Guard, all with Incarmine Swords, 5 of. 10-man unit of Death Company, 5 with Power Axes, 5 with Chainswords, everyone's got a bolt gun. And then a Redemptor Dreadnought with the Onslaught Gatling Cannon, Heavy Onslaught Gatling Cannon, Storm Bolters, and Icarus Rocket Pod. Get in there and do some wrecking. Then for fast attack, we got 3 Inceptors with the Assault Bolters. So pretty good, just some extra DACA. And then lastly, in heavy support, we got a Bile Predator with all DACA, so long range DACA assault cannons, heavy bolters, and storm bolter on top. So that comes in at 1500 points and 9 command points, spending 1 command point on the extra relic, taking it back down to 8 command points to start the battle, which is a good amount. Alright, we'll go over here and check out the Black Legion. So, HQs, heading them off. We've got none other than a Baden the Despoiler. You can't do Black Legion without a Baden the Despoiler. It's just the way it is. Write that down. Second in charge, he will be the Warlord. It makes sense too, fighting against an Imperial army on 5s and 6s, he'll explode into more attacks. So hopefully he'll be tasty today. Take a heap of Blood Angel heads and wreck them. Second HQ, we've just got a Champion. So in combat he'll give the rerolls to wound, and he's got a Power Axe. Then up here, just because people said they wanted a bit of soup, I thought just in this list I'll mix it up. Sorry about the base, he's being rebased at the moment. I've put in a Bloodthirster of Insensate Rage, and he's got a little patrol detachment over here of Bloodletters. But he's the 3rd HQ. I thought it'd be fluffy fighting against Blood Angels, put this guy in there because they've had a lot of trouble with Bloodthirsters in the past, mainly the big one, Carbander. So I thought this guy could be his brother or something, coming to do some wrecking and bidding. So they're the 3 HQs. Troops, we got 1, 2, 3 5-man units with las cannon. And then obviously the Bloodletters, as I said, in the patrol. Then if we go into elites, you can't have a Baden without Terminators. So we've got a 5-man unit of Terminators, 3 with Axe, 2 with Fists, 4 with Boulders, and 1 with the autocannon. Then if we go into fast attack, we've got 5 Warp Talons, just to see how they go. These guys need to be rebased as well, so sorry about that. And then if we go to heavy support, we've got 3 Obliterators, all in the 1 unit, just in case I've got to use some stratagems. And then if we go over here, we've got a Forge Fiend with the Hades autocannons for a bit of Primaris Marine killy death. So with Baden round, he'll be getting full rerolls, so will a lot of this other stuff. So this comes in at 8 command points, And then you get 2 more command points for having a baton, which makes 10 command points total for the army. So, hopefully this will be a tasty little army. It's got a bit of combat, a bit of shooting. See if we can't give these Blood Angels some trouble. And hopefully Abaddon himself will just crush heads because he's just a glorious model. Alright guys, so we'll roll up some dice, get a mission going, and see who comes out on top between these 2 forces. Alright, let's get into it. Alright guys, so we've rolled up a mission, Beachhead. So, in that there's 3 objectives. So, 1 gets set up in each of the opponent's deployment zone and 1 in the centre. So the one in the centre of the battlefield is here in the centre, surprise, surprise. So not far from each of the armies. Then on the Blood Angel side, the objective is underneath all these guys here, which is in the centre of this side of the battlefield. And then if we come around here, on the very far right, Jakey Boy has put his down here being sneaky, so it's quite far from this one being Blood Angels. He's forcing me to spread out here. So, deployment wise, the Blood Angels rolled higher, so they chose the deployment, and then the Chaos is set up their full army first. So, we'll go through the Chaos deployment. So first off in Deep Strike Reserve, they've got the Obliterators, and they've also got the Warp Talons. Then from left to right, we've got Bloodletters here, 5-man unit of Chaos Space Marines, Forge Fiend, up top overlooking the objective. We've got another 5-man unit. Down here we've got Abaddon with his Terminators and the Champion. Then here we've got Carbander's brother. We'll come up with a name for him soon. Hopefully after he's cleaved a heap of Blood Angels in half, that'll set it clear. Then we've got another 5-man unit over here. Now if we come around this side, my setup, counter to old Jakey Boys, is putting a Predator here hidden behind the building so nothing can shoot at it and I can pop out and attack. Then I've got my 3 5-man units of Intercessors in this building here with the 3 characters in the centre and then the Dreadnought behind. Now in Deep Strike Reserve, I have my Death Company, I have my Sanguinary Guard, I have the Inceptors and also the Sanguinal. So that I've got half of my army coming in pretty much from Deep Strike Reserve. So at this point, the Chaos will be going first unless I can seize the initiative. So I'll have a crack at that now. That's a 3. So Jake's pretty happy with that. I'll be going second, so hopefully he doesn't blow me off the map. That's going to give him some good movement, some good board control, and I suppose these guys will just stay hidden in here till then. So after Chaos turn 1, we'll get back to you and see what happens. Alright guys. Okay guys, end of Chaos turn 1. Jakey Boy's made some moves and pushed up forward. So, in terms of movement, these guys over here stayed here. The guys up the top here stayed still. These guys moved up here and they stayed there. This moved across a bit. Everything else ran to the centre. So Abaddon, Terminators, the Champion, and the big Bloodthirster ran forward. Now the Bloodthirster is already up on the objective. So he's literally centre board from over here, rolled forward, got a 16-inch move. You know, just on the other side of this building is all the Blood Angels forces. So got to be careful with that. He's really put the pressure on me. In terms of shooting though, the only thing that could draw line of sight, because we've got pretty thick terrain here today, was this las cannon. Coming across here, could just see the Bar Predator, but didn't do any damage, didn't manage to get anything off. Everything else couldn't draw a bead, so that's the first turn for the Chaos forces. They've set up dominance in the middle of the field here, and they're going to be hard to shift off it with Abaddon and all these big baddies on here. So we'll have Blood Angels turn 1 and see if we can't do something about this. Alright guys. Alright guys, end of Blood Angels turn 1. What have we done here? So, Bar Predator moved up here. Got a bead down this way. Shot into these guys over here. Heavy Doctrines on. Blew away 3. That was hitting on 4s due to it moving. Then, this guy here was out here. Come moving around here. I used the big guns never tire so that he got the he didn't get the neg for moving and firing heavy weapons. Shot over here and took out 3 of the Terminators, which is pretty good shooting, can't complain with that. Then we go over to here. All of these guys made a shift over to here. We got wings off with old Meffy, and he also got the quickening off. Then these other guys, they ran and using a bead, shot up here, and they killed 1 Marine up there. So there was no first blood, no first strike on either army, so no one scored that first turn. But there was some good shooting going on, killing a few Marines, killing a few Terminators here and there. It's better than anything I can hope for. Bit of terrain in the way, that's okay. I like it. I like city fight stuff. So we'll get back to you with the Chaos turn 2. It's a bit worrying. We've moved up here and there is a giant bloodthirster and some other bits and bobs around there. So we'll see if they capitalise on some of this stuff and come over here and cave my head in, or whether I survive it and kill them back. Alright, we'll get back to you guys. Alright guys, end of Black Legion turn 2. What has happened? Alright, we'll start from the right hand side. Las cannons here stood still, shot across, hit this thing, took 6 wounds off. Coming across here, las cannons here, shot across, took another 4 off it. Las cannon here, shot across, did nothing. So all the las cannons fired into that tank, didn't do a whole deal. Then these guys came out of Deep Strike Reserve, and well, the combined firepower of these guys and a Baden and crew took out an intercessor squad, but it was actually horrendous. The amount of feel no pains and stuff they made being 2 wounds, they just took it like bosses. So they absorbed like a massive amount of shooting from these guys. Their guns only went to strength 7, they were AP 3, damage 3, which is really good against Marines, and they still managed to only wipe out this with the support of these Terminators and a Baden. Then this guy, Forge Fiend, fired across. Same thing again, only managed to kill 1 of these guys. Oh no, he didn't manage to kill 1 of these guys. What am I talking about? Sorry, his firepower was also used in that. So there's 2 full 5-man squads there. And yeah, it was all this firepower. So what to take away from this, guys, is Blood Angels always take the banner of sacrifice. That feel no pain on 2 wound models is just a godsend. Alright, so next thing, these guys come out of Deep Strike Reserve and attempted to assault, failed miserably. But then over here, the big winner, the Dreadnought of Insensate Rage jumped over here, and boy did it flog my Dreadnought. It done 21 wounds. The Dreadnought did explode, so I took a couple of wounds in that process. Well, I didn't take a couple of wounds. This guy took a couple of wounds. So that's actually quite a nasty turn. But we'll hit back with the Blood Angels. We've got a lot more reserves to come in on our turn. Our tank's pretty much effed, our Dreadnought's dead, and a lot of our troops are blown to pieces. So we'll get back to you and see what we can do in retaliation. Alright guys. Alright guys, and a Blood Angel turn 2, and it was an absolute bloodbath, pardon the pun. Alright, so let's go through what has happened here on this battlefield. Jake's face dropped a bit due to my shooting was pretty pathetic, but once I started getting into combat, he saw the true power of the Blood Angels. We'll go through shooting. So this guy, hitting on 5s, still had a massive amount of shots, so finished off the guys that were over here on the objective. So even though he's on his last little tiny bits, he did well. Okay, then coming across here, the Sanguinor and his Sanguinary Guard come down from the heavens, flew over into here, and stabbed. What do you have? 2 wounds off him, 13, so they stabbed 11 wounds off him. He did retaliate and only took 1 wound back off the Sanguinor because he was hitting on 4s. He only had a couple of attacks. So they've really neutered him. Then coming across here, these guys ran, so they just did a bit of shooting. These guys come down here, and shot into the obliterators and took 1 wound off them, which I was seriously unhappy about because that was with the tactical doctrine on and all guns a-blazing. Alright, but then where all the carnage absolutely took place was in the centre here. So the Death Company come down here in the craters. They shot into some of the Terminators here. Didn't really do a lot. I think it took a wound or 2. These guys also shot into them, and there was a few little shots here and there. But then what has happened is all of this stuff got its charges off. Now Mephiston cut 7 wounds off Abaddon. Abaddon then chimed in on the combat, hit back and took Mephiston down to 1 wound, so stripped 5 wounds off him, which is pretty good considering he's got feel no pain and all that jazz. Then my Warlord, the Sanguinary Priest, took the last wound off Abaddon. Then these guys punched their way through the Terminators, because there's only 2 Terminators left after shooting, and the rest of these Death Company ripped through the champion. So it was an absolute slaughterfest in here. The Blood Angels have complete domination of the centre of the board. I don't know how long for though, because there is an absolute bucket ton of shooting still here. The Bloodthirst, even though crippled, wasn't taken down. And then over here, I was unable to do anything about these guys. So still got a full unit of them to hit back with as well. So we're going to go on to turn 3 for Chaos and see if they can't fight back and claw their way. Well, actually, I wouldn't say claw their way back into battle. They're doing okay. So we'll see what happens. Chaos turn 3. We'll be back, boys. Alright guys, end of Chaos turn 3. What has happened? It was a bit of a strange turn where it was Chaos turn, but I think they lost more casualties in this battle. So let's go through it. First off, Jakey Boy used this here to shoot over here because these guys were out of range of the banner and obliterated 3 of them, so that wasn't a bad decision. The rest of the guys here, so this guy fired over here and finished off the old Predator. The rest of the bolt guns here shot in here, killed a Death Company or 2. These guys here did similar. And these guys, the old obliterators, shot over into here. We only got 1 damage and AP 2, strength 7 for the roll. Killed 1, took a wound off 1. It's not the worst thing that could happen, but it would have been nice for him to have gotten rid of that unit and just give a little bit of a leg up instead of copping more shooting off him. That was pretty much the shooting round. Combat. The old Bloodthirst is no longer here. He took a couple more wounds off the Sanguinor, but then these guys just cut him down, sent him back into the warp, just curb stomped him. Then, you know, they just, over here on this gutter, they put his head down, said bite the gutter, and fucking bang. Down you go, mate. Alright. Over here, this was a strange one. So he charged in with Bloodletters and the Warp Talons. He killed a few Primaris Marines. He wiped out all of the Death Company that were left here. But then in retaliation, there was 1 Death Company left. He obviously died to morale. But between these guys, they cut down the demons. So Mephiston killed about 6. Then this guy here killed another 3 or 4. And then between these guys over here, they killed some of these Warp Talons. So it was just a horrendous like slaughterfest in here. Mephiston's still only left on 1 wound. But at this point, it's looking pretty grim. But that's the grim dark. But they've still got, you know, guns, monsters, these sorts of things. But it is the Blood Angels' turns, and they're about to kick it into the assault phase. And I'll tell you what, the assault phase for the Blood Angels is just brutal in this edition. They've really ramped it up, and it works well for them. Alright, we'll get back to yours. Blood Angels turn 3. Alright guys, end of Blood Angel turn 3. And the game has come to an end because it's an absolute domination. So, these guys ran back here to hold my objective. Doing nothing else. The jump pack guys that were here, I paid the 2 command points, they flew up. Landed on his objective. Shot up into here. Killed the guys who were on the top rafters here. These guys here obliterated the last 2 guys here, claiming this objective. Mephiston and the Sangrew Priest jumped up here, and Mephiston single-handedly carved his way through the Obliterators. Then this guy was in combat, and this guy was in combat, killed the rest of the guys up in the rafters here. And the old Sanguinor and his troop jumped 12 from here, landed in front here, charged through here, and just cut through the Forge Fiend. Absolute domination and victory. There's no other way to say it. This has just gone completely the Blood Angels' way. Once the combat kicked in, and especially this last turn when it went into the combat doctrine, the poor buddy Black Legion just did not stand a chance. Jakey boy has left the table. He's gone and sat on the couch over there and started to play some Xbox. He doesn't want a bar of it. He did, however, pick sorry mate, this as his man of match, quite simply because it ran through a Dreadnought like a knife through butter, just with absolute ease, and just absolutely pumped it, annihilated it. And in counter to that, I'm going to give man of the match to the Sanguinor. He pretty much single-handedly carved this guy in half, then ran across the battlefield and carved the Forge Fiend in half. That's the stuff you read about when you read about the Sanguinor in like the novels and all that sort of stuff. He just appears on the battlefield when he's most needed and just absolutely pumps whatever in front of him. It's just always the way it goes. So, sorry this one was a bit one-sided. Sometimes that's how it goes. But here at Death from Above 40k, we put the slappings on here as well. We don't mess around. So hopefully you enjoyed that. And we'll get back to you with the rest of the requests that people have made. We've got some other ones coming up real soon. Putting some lists together. And we'll get back to you guys. Thanks for watching.